Dad loved most was music. He was a talented composer and songwriter and had created hits for a lot of top artists. Because of that, he was highly respected in the music industry.
Chelsea, sweetie, see all these awards? One day, you will have just as many of them.
I never really wanted to follow in his footsteps, but then everything changed. I was still a kid back then. One day, I was painting in an album while Dad was playing the piano next to me. Soon, I started to sing along. Dad was absolutely delighted.
Chelsea, you have an angelic voice. You should develop your talent.
I wasn't interested in that, though. I refused and said that I wanted to become an artist. However, Dad wouldn't take no for an answer.
Baby, you won't earn any money by smearing paint all over the canvas. You must continue our musical dynasty.
Dad even introduced me to famous singers, hoping I would fall in love with music. But it was all for nothing because I like drawing portraits of those celebrities more than listening to them sing.
Dad, look! I drew Britney Spears!
Chelsea, you're wasting your time. Practice singing instead.
Nope, I don't wanna. I won't do it.
Several years passed. I grew up, but neither of us gave in.
Sweetie, put away the paints and get back to singing.
Nope, I don't want to. I won't do it. He kept insisting and promised to write an amazing song that would instantly turn me into a star. After all, he had great connections. But I stood my ground. Nothing could make me give up on my dream. I also started to prepare for exams to an art academy in secret. When Dad found out about it, he was terribly upset.
Chelsea, let's make a bet. I'll find the best singing teachers in the world for you. If you don't fall in love with music after their lessons, I will pay your tuition and stop meddling in your life.
I agreed without hesitation and immediately came up with a plan to chase away all those teachers. We shook hands, and Dad started looking for tutors. An Italian opera singer was the first one to arrive. She had such a powerful voice she could break glasses when she sang. The woman was terribly proud of it.
Impressive, right? Can you do it?
Not bad. I think I can do better, though. The singer smirked, closed her eyes, and waited for me to try. I took a deep breath and screamed while pushing the mirror to break it. I think this means I beat you.
How is this possible?
Well, I'm just really talented. Do you want me to give you a couple of lessons?
The nerve of you.
After that, the singer angrily ran away, slamming the door on her way out. Dad sighed in frustration. A strict old man tried to teach me next. He brought notebooks and made me memorize notes, but I found a way to get rid of him too. I just moved my lips soundlessly, pretending to say something.
What? I can't hear you.
My teacher thought his hearing aid had broken and turned up the volume. I immediately started shouting, "I said the weather's nice today!"
Oh, my ears. Why would you shout like that?
The old man got mad at me for pranking him and refused to teach me. Soon, I scared away all my tutors. Dad was miserable. Meanwhile, I was over the moon. After all, I won the bet. Well, almost. Soon, a reticent and handsome guy called Robert showed up at our house. I'm not very experienced, but I could teach your daughter a lot. He looked dangerous and not like a tutor at all. I thought Dad would send him away, but he was so desperate he gave Robert a chance. I was sure I would quickly get rid of him and be free. How naive of me. Robert sat down at the piano and asked me to sing something. I shrugged and showed him what I was capable of. To my surprise, the guy grimaced and gave me a thumbs down.
Yeah, no voice, no hearing. A complete zero. Mediocrity.
His words made my blood boil. Who was he calling mediocre? I said I wanted to try again and did my best to impress Robert. I sang with abandon, and he accompanied me on the piano. I've got to say, we made for a great duo and sounded amazing. Dad was ecstatic. He often peeked into the room, beaming. By the end of our lesson, Dad happily shook Robert's hand and called him son. Robert's reaction was surprisingly cold, though.
You did the impossible and made my daughter sing. From now on, you will always be welcome in our house.
Thank you. I have a special approach. Damn it, how could I fall for his cunning trick? I shouldn't have tried so hard. Now, Dad definitely wouldn't leave me alone. It was like gloomy Robert cast a spell on me. That would be the last time he tricked me. When he came the next day, I sang out of tune on purpose. It was so bad I could barely stand it myself. What happened? You were so great yesterday. I muttered that it was none of his business. I'm not actually interested in music, so don't bother teaching me anything. Robert paused and then smiled slyly. You just don't know what real music is yet. Come on, I'll show you something amazing. I was all for going out instead of sitting through another boring lesson. Robert brought me to a museum of music history. I learned a lot of interesting things there. For example, it turned out that Beethoven had hearing problems. That didn't stop him from writing many great symphonies. It blew my mind. We wandered around the city, and Robert introduced me to some street performers. They didn't just sing to earn a living, but also could not imagine their life without music. Their dedication impressed me. In the evening, Robert brought me to a small jazz club. He sat me down at a table and went somewhere. Oh, where are you going? Don't leave me here alone. I'll be back soon. It was suddenly announced that a young but talented singer was about to perform. Robert went on stage, sat down at the piano, and sang a song he wrote himself. I was stunned by his voice and couldn't take my eyes off him as I enjoyed the music with bated breath. When he finished, it was already the middle of the night. He offered to walk me home. To be honest, even though Robert didn't speak much, there was something about him that fascinated me. I tried to find out more about him as we walked. I don't like talking about myself, Chelsea. Let's listen to the melody of the night. He was so mysterious. I wondered why he became my tutor. Maybe Robert was trying to impress Dad so that he would help his musical career? Thinking about that made me a bit sad. Dad was waiting for us at home, furious.
Do you know what time it is? Why were you out so late?
Dad, don't be mad. We've been enjoying music all day. I told him what an amazing tour Robert had organized for me. Dad was impressed. After all, that was the first time I showed interest in music. When he found out that my singing teacher performed in a tiny club, he offered him help.
I have connections. I can make you a star.
To my astonishment, Robert politely refused and left. Wow, he turned out to be a good and honest guy. He wasn't teaching me just to impress my famous dad. That inspired me so much that I spent the whole night drawing Robert on stage. I finally fell asleep in the morning with my head in the paints. Soon, someone touched my shoulder to wake me up. Hey, Sleeping Beauty, it's time for our lesson. It was Robert. I turned red as a tomato when I saw him look at my painting. Is that me? Yeah, you helped me see the beauty in music, and I tried to paint what I felt.
You have a talent.
I told him about my bet with Dad and about my dream of becoming an artist. Robert said he could leave so that I could prepare for the academy exams, but I refused. After all, I fell in love not only with music, but also with my tutor. He kept teaching me, and we grew closer by the day. Soon, I asked Robert to teach me how to play a melody on the piano. We were sitting very close, and I could hear his heartbeat. Then, he suddenly leaned down, kissed me gently on the cheek, and confessed that he fell in love with me at first sight. Of course, I told him I felt the same. We started dating, and everything was great. However, I still felt like Robert was hiding something. He did not answer any of my questions about his family, or even tell me where he lived. I chose to believe in him and turned a blind eye to it. After a while, I told my dad something he had been dying to hear. Thanks to Robert, I realized that music really is in my blood. I want to become a singer. My father almost burst into tears with joy. He went to his study and brought me a piece of paper.
Sweetie, I wrote this song for you a long time ago. I'll be so happy if you sing it.
I took the piece of paper and read the lyrics. You are my soul, my inspiration. A guiding star, a lighthouse in the dark. In your eyes, I see salvation. Shine like the moon, leave your mark. Wow, it's beautiful. It's going to be a hit. The next morning, we went to a studio and I recorded my first song. Robert watched me work and cheered me on. I'd never been so happy. Unfortunately, soon, the fairy tale turned into a nightmare. A few days before the release of my single, the song was posted online. It was sung by another girl. Dad and I were furious. We were unable to contact her and find out how she found out about my song.
I won't rest until I find out who stole from us.
We watched the surveillance footage and saw Robert do something on Dad's computer. I couldn't believe it. My boyfriend turned out to be a traitor. Was that what he had been hiding from me? Ugh, he messed with the wrong girl. Robert didn't answer the phone, but I knew where to find him. That evening, I ran to the jazz club and caught him after a performance. I know everything. What do you have to say for yourself? Sorry, Chelsea. I did it to get back at your father. He built his career at the expense of my mom's talent. They used to work together, and she was the one to write those songs. Your father took all the credit, and we lived in poverty. He said his mother had a nervous breakdown and spent several years being treated in a hospital after that. Robert had been looking for a way to get even for a long time. I didn't plan to fall in love with you, but my feelings were real. I couldn't help myself. Of course, I didn't believe Robert. I ran home and asked my dad about it.
Nonsense. That boy is a liar. He gained our trust to steal the song and sell it. I'll sue him.
I didn't know who to believe, so I locked myself in my room to think about everything. An hour later, Dad knocked on my door and said he could prove he wasn't lying.
Come on, baby. Robert has another student. I found her address. Let's ask her about him.
We came to the girl's house and knocked on the door, but no one opened it. Then, I looked into the window and gasped. Robert was sitting on the couch and hugging a blonde girl. It was a double betrayal. I burst into tears. Robert noticed me and ran out on the porch. Chelsea, I don't know what's going on. This girl hired me as a tutor and then suddenly threw herself at me. What a pathetic excuse. I'm not lying. Tomorrow, I'm going to visit my mom in the hospital. Come with me and you'll see that your father is a liar. At that moment, Dad grabbed my hand and dragged me toward the car.
Let's go, sweetie. He's not worth your tears.
Robert shouted the address of the hospital after us. When I got home, I threw away everything that reminded me of him, even my painting. After all, I wanted to forget him as soon as possible. Then, I wanted to chat with Dad before going to bed. I walked into a study without knocking and saw him video chatting with that blonde girl.
Thank you for setting Robert up. I couldn't bear to disappoint my daughter.
Well, I'm an actress. It wasn't hard.
I couldn't believe it. Dad paid that girl to make me believe Robert was a cheater. Was Robert right? Was my father an imposter? My head was a mess. I needed to get to the bottom of it all. So I slipped out of Dad's study before he realized I was there. The next morning, I went to the hospital where Robert's mother was being treated. He was already there, gently holding his mother's hand when I arrived. He was very surprised to see me. You came. Dad paid that girl. I'm sorry I didn't believe you right away. Your dad is a piece of work. Robert introduced me to his mom. She was a wonderful woman. Wonderful, but sad. My son has told me a lot about you, Chelsea. I'm glad he found his soulmate. Then she showed me a stack of drafts and old photos of her and dad when they were young. Your father and I used to be a team. He turned out to be way more cunning than me and stole my songs. I tried to tell people the truth, but everyone believed the famous composer and not some poor, crazy woman. I looked at the drafts and couldn't believe my eyes. Those were the lyrics of the songs Dad had got all his awards for. Of course, that didn't prove anything. Still, I believed Robert and his mom. Justice must prevail. If Dad is a liar, I'll make him confess. What are you going to do? You'll find out soon. I kissed him and ran home. Then, I hid Dad's collection of coins. He quickly discovered it and came to me.
Sweetie, have you taken my collection?
Yes, Dad. I sold them all and gave the money to Robert's mom. Dad grabbed his hair and looked close to tears.
My coins! I've been collecting them for over 20 years! How could you do that?
Is it unpleasant when something important is stolen from you?
I get it.
He sighed and finally admitted he had stolen the lyrics of all those songs. After that, I smiled slyly and returned Dad's collection to him. I haven't sold it. I just wanted to find out the truth. Still, now you know how Robert's mom felt.
Chelsea, you have no idea how ashamed I am of what I did. I felt guilty all these years, but I also wanted to provide for you.
You still have a chance to fix everything. Dad agreed with me. The very next day, he held a press conference and told everyone who was the real author of all those wonderful songs. After that, Robert's mother became famous and received dozens of lucrative offers. That helped her recover, and she was soon discharged from the hospital. She even forgave Dad. However, I didn't know how to talk to him anymore. After all, he had been lying to me for so many years. One day, Robert invited me for dinner with him and his mom. It was nice to see them happy. My boyfriend's mom told me that my dad had written the song he had given me himself.
He wasn't always a good person, but he was a good father to you. I think you should give him another chance.
I know that Dad loves me, but it will take time for me to start communicating with him again. Robert no longer cared about getting revenge and focused on his career. We even recorded a song together. I finally fulfilled my dream and got into an art academy. However, I'm still interested in music and learning how to sing. After all, when you meet someone special, they help you see the beauty in things you didn't pay attention to before.